Turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Hello. If you're listening to this episode, it's like a day or two late. I'm a grad student and my brain is like mush. And sometimes life happens and we have to
Life
delay
happens.
things. Yeah,
Sometimes you're in grad
but
school, and sometimes
yeah,
people's dads are in surgery.
that too. Life happens, but we're here. We're giving you an episode a few days late. But before we get started, Court, how's it going?
It is going very good. Happy to not have had to experience the Donner Party.
Yeah, very happy. Yeah.
Because the investors are
so
not the only ones eating.
I actually want to start this episode with a bit of like a thought exercise, and this question that I ask you is going to inform our
Grad
discussion
school's
pretty
getting to
much.
you. The thought exercise.
But no, I
Let's go.
read I read it. I read an interview. Troy Baker, the original Joel, the voice actor for Joel in the
Mhm.
game, he was interviewed, and he had one very interesting quote, and I want to basically ask you this and see if you like agree or disagree. The
Mhm.
quote is, "There are no villains in The Last of Us. Everyone thinks they're the hero in their own story." Agree or disagree?
I would agree up until this episode because this guy,
Hmm.
I would say, is the one true villain. Like even
Hmm.
Kathleen, I think she was off her rocker,
Hmm.
but I think she truly believes she's right. This guy, David, I don't think he believes in what he's a cult leader. I don't think he
Hmm.
believes in what he's selling. So
Hmm.
therefore he's a villain.
Hmm.
Because well, one, first of all, anyone that's a pedophile, you don't have
Right.
to believe that whatever
Right.
because it's YouTube, but is a villain, right? I'm sorry. But if he was, truly believed aside from that piece, maybe, but
Hmm.
no. I think up until this point, yeah.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree because, um, like,
You just don't become like that
because
because of yeah.
sorry, my headphones, I think they just paired off. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree because he's just a very terrible human being, and I don't even like he's basically selling like snake oil just to like get what he wants. He doesn't even believe like what he's doing, kind of how you said. So I respectfully disagree, Mr. Baker. I think there are indeed villains, and I think the purpose of this episode is to show
Just
you,
to
like
show
Joel
that.
said, the infected, they aren't
Are
what you need to
worse
worry about.
people.
It's everybody else. Yeah.
I will say how about this, and this might people might not agree, but put yourself in the this situation, right? If obviously cannibalism is bad. I'm not trying to say. I'm saying if everyone was all in it and you're about to die, like I don't want to ever put myself in that situation. Maybe I'd be like, okay, that's not villainous, that's desperation. But he didn't tell anybody.
Hmm.
They did it regularly. Like there was a whole deer they could have eaten. Like he's hiding it from people, and there's child brides. Like I think I would see what he was saying if it was like this act of desperation. It would suck and it would
Hmm.
be very morally and ethically wrong and disgusting. But you're starving in the middle of winter. You know what I mean? That way I'd be like, yeah, I could see where maybe he's not a villain. It was just a fucked up thing to do. In the instance of either die or that, but like this is not that. This is I think it's he gets like a sick pleasure out of feeding people
Yeah.
without them knowing. Does that make sense?
No,
Because like
that
I
makes
feel like
sense because
the wrong way, but like I said, I don't want to be at a point where I could judge someone that's their only option to eat. You know what I mean? Like it's messed up.
because yeah,
I'm careful to not judge situations and say I would never do this. Like I work with ethics all the time, and I've learned
yeah.
to know better. than to say I would never do that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like, I never say what I would or wouldn't do if I haven't been in the
I
situation.
wouldn't have a child bride. I know for a fact,
But
never would.
what I can say is I wouldn't strip the choice away from other people like he did.
Mhm.
Like, if he is the leader of this group and he presented them with the choice, like cool, and they decided like, okay, this is the only way we survive, then cool. But he did it like you said,
And it's
they
sickening
had the whole
because he
deer.
was smiling at the family of the person he was likely feeding. He was smiling, so I
Hmm.
think he gets his fix. You know, the worst part about this is this guy used to be a teacher.
Right, right. Like, don't
And
let
I
that be
can't, and like I
lost
said,
on
he
you.
obviously
Yeah.
likes preteen girls.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a villain in every story.
Yes.
But I would argue no one else is like truly villainous. Maybe morally not great under the circumstances, but
Hmm.
he's the true villain of probably this whole series. Because I wouldn't even say Cordyceps is technically a villain, because that's
Right.
just like nature being nature.
Right. Yeah, that's like a parasitic like host relationship. Like they can't really control like what's happening to them.
But you know who can control their behavior?
Who's that?
Cult leaders, the child brides,
Yeah,
who
so
get a satisfaction off of feeding people without telling them.
so for those reasons that you've listed, like in my opinion, this is by far like the scariest episode, and
Oh,
not a single
terrifying.
infected is present.
People complained
Yeah.
about their being infected because there's a part in the game where David and Ellie fight off infected together.
Hmm.
I like the change of removing that because I need him to be just completely untrustworthy to
Right.
me. And the thing is, I think that would have been there's just too much going on. You know what
Right.
I
Right.
mean? So I was fine with the removal because the thing is, like, I don't need to see infected every single episode because at the end
Exactly.
of the day, like like the story behind this is about people.
Hmm.
Like we got tons of infected, so I don't watch The Walking Dead if you're
Exactly.
more
Yeah.
for zombie than story. This has always been about story. The game is gonna have more zombies because like you need combat.
Mhm.
But it doesn't make sense in a narrative where you're not controlling a character. So I need people to have a little bit of media literacy here.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say that, but since you've gone there, but no, seriously, like you said,
This
at
is
the
George
core of the
Bush's
story,
fault.
it is he will pay for his sins. But at the core of this, like it's always been a very human story, and I think you lose something if you have the infected in every single episode. Like they don't become like scary anymore if you show them every single episode. And plus, you take away from the focus, which is like what what would like regular human beings do if you put them in this situation, because these are regular people. So if you put
Mhm.
them in this situation, that like is the driver of the show, not the infected, because if you
Well,
show the
I feel
infected,
like it
it's
would
going to
just
get
get
boring.
tired to have them having to
Exactly.
fight zombies it just gets tired. Like that's why people got tired of The Walking Dead.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It just gets very tired. And also, this is a tundra. They're trying to go for a little more realism. It's very clear that this fungus would not survive in the winter. So I think it makes sense that they're not there.
Yeah, it's I wanted to mention another place that people shouldn't go. I think they're in Colorado
Boston.
in this
Oh.
episode.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Because yeah, the
Yeah.
zombies are even like, no, no,
The
mm-mm.
zombies are like, nah, I do not want to be a prospector in Colorado. I do not want to
You're speaking
go
from experience.
search for gold in Colorado. Maybe or maybe not, but no. But yeah, so yeah, let's back up and actually talk about the episode from the beginning, because I think in a sick twisted way, the way Ellie is introduced to David, right? David. Yeah, I think the
Mhm.
way that they cross paths, that clicks, and like his curiosity starts there. So she's hunting for the deer.
It's a
She
curiosity, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, she shoots the deer, she tracks the deer, and she runs up
Which is
on
very
them, and
good because she had a heart.
yeah,
She was struggling.
yeah. And she's able to, like, basically, like, subdue them, and, like, like, disarm them and say, like, okay, you go get the medicine, and we're gonna, like, take this deer. And I think, like, David's like, oh, this is a very interesting girl, that she's able to, like, do this, right? That she's able to, like, she's very savvy. Like, she is very, like, talented and savvy. The fact that she's able, like, to even hunt in this manner at her age. So, um, video game goal Joel goes to get the medicine, and then they, pull the deer into the shed, and that's when David reveals, like, yeah, like, one guy from our pack got killed by, a guy
A
and a girl.
crazy, yeah,
Yeah.
guy with a
So
child.
right. So like, that scene is so, I want to stop here because that scene is, like,
Very
so greatly
sinister.
executed. Because, yeah,
Mhm.
like you said, it's like, because, like, if you had no knowledge of David at this point, you would think, like, okay, like, a bit of a weird guy, but at the same time, maybe he's, like, protective of his pack. He means no
Mhm.
harm, but, like, that, like you said, that was a very sinister moment. And the way that he revealed that information was, like, very creepy, and I think it sets the tone for the rest of the episode.
Mhm. And I like the changes of how Ellie is alerted. Like it just shows like the survival instinct that it's by the disturbance of the birds that she realizes they're coming after her.
Hmm.
Um, and I like it because we get to see the real side of Joel.
Yeah.
Truly, like what happens when Ellie isn't around. Because I think a couple episodes ago when we got the indigenous couple, and they realized that Joel's not going to do anything because Ellie's present.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
only reason.
Hmm.
He's not a good person. He's
No,
not a villain, but he's not a good person.
not at all.
And
No.
like this is like what happens in this episode, we'll get to it, is like heartwarming, but it's also like worrisome about mental
Yeah.
states. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we'll get into that as we get to that part. It's not as heartwarming to me.
Hmm.
I'll get into why.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear about that part, but
Yeah.
um,
Just like from a counselor perspective, social work
mhm,
perspective, I have thoughts. And I think it's the intent of the
yeah.
story, but we'll get there. But yeah, so Ellie's surviving and we get like shots of this commune and they're running it out of like this resort and we have this scene where they're eating this gamey looking meat. It's the best way I can say it, and everyone's digging and they make it point to show them digging in. And Troy Baker, who voices Joel in the game, he's like the right hand man, and I think a select couple people know he's like very slow to eat it. But David is like smiling.
Hmm.
And there's a point where the girl who was the daughter of the guy that got killed says that they should murder Ellie, and he smacks her across the face, and no one does anything. And I think that kind of shows the power he holds over them. Again, it's very cult like to a T, very well done. To kind of mimic that, because the kind of thing of a cult is kind of like how an abusive relationship works, but it's like one person and many people and narcissist. So comfortable at first is like what he does is Ellie we kind of tries to talk sweet, and then when he can't leave, that's when the abuse happens. But it's just so fucked up how he's enjoying the fact that he fed. It reminds me of there's an episode in South Park where Cartman like feeds this kid his own dad.
So, like, that's like when Simpsons
In
predicts
the same
everything.
exact
South Park
manner,
predict.
yeah.
Yeah. Because my question to you is like, the girl asked, like, "Oh, when are we going to bury my dad?" And David says, like, "Oh, the ground is too hard because like we're in the dead of winter right now. The ground is too hard. We'll bury him in the spring."
But here's
What the
the thing.
hell was going to
When
happen when
they
spring rolled
split
around?
that deer with Ellie, like that was the point.
Yeah,
And a deer, that's a lot of meat.
that's
That's
a
one
lot
thing I
of
know
meat.
about
Yeah.
being from Alabama. It's a lot of meat. Like
Hmm.
it could one deer of that size can totally feed that many people.
Yeah, that's a fridge full of deer sausage right there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like I said, that meat does not look like deer. I don't
It
know if
is
you've ever
no, it is
eaten
not.
deer.
I have, and it
I
no.
have. It doesn't look like that.
Yeah. Because even when he brings it in and she's like, "What is this?" and he's like, "Venison," and then he like slowly drops it and then like walks away. He's like, "Yeah, it's venison. Don't ask any
Yeah,
questions." And
totally.
then he
No,
just
it's
walks away.
not.
It is not.
Okay, so fundamental difference between the game and the show is Ellie trusts him in the game and eats some of the food and then realizes. So I think that's more fucked up. I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Yeah, I had to go watch the side by side cut scene with the show, and I'm so glad that she didn't
I
actually
think that was
touch
a
the
good
food.
narrative.
I think so.
I don't know. I feel like that's just it borders on cruelty. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we'll get like I said, people claim like that a lot of this parts of this episode were unnecessarily cruel. That would have been the unnecessarily cruel part. I just don't think that would have been necessary. I like the idea that Ellie's suspicious of him the whole time because it's true to her nature.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it makes sense. And what tips her off is like when he pushes the plate and then she like looks and then she sees like an ear because in the like from what I saw in the cutscene of the game, like he's actually chopping, on the like you see him chopping stuff on the
Yeah, because that's
table.
where she's locked up.
Hmm. Yeah. Ah.
It's just yeah, bleh, bleh. So it's and then we get a cut back to Joel. So before this happens and she gets captured, she sees the disturbance of the birds and realizes they've tracked her. Um she gives him his knife, and this is after she had given him the medicine and all that. She would have been really good in med school, is all I'm saying. I'm like, she's very proficient. But I like the changes again. And like in the game, she kind of just knew what to do. In the show, she's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, Joel. What the
It's
fuck do
like,
I
where do I
do?
put this, Joel?
And she
Yeah.
just like puts it in the wound, which is correct, but it's just like I like that change because it's like, how would she know what to do so confidently? Unless like they teach you that in federal school. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I would believe that if they did, because again they're being trained to be soldiers. But anyway, and he does start to come to a little bit, and this is when we get Liam Neeson, Joel,
Hmm.
and he basically when they couple. So what happens? How Ellie gets captured? She's riding this horse, and Troy Baker's character shoots the horse, and she basically gets knocked out. And this is one thing I think too. So I don't think it's necessarily that they dislike Ellie. I think they know how fucked up David is, and I think they were trying to save Ellie from a worse fate. That's what
Yeah.
I
So I
personally think.
was.
Because he's like just shoot her. Because I think they were more than aware
Yeah.
of what his intent was.
So I was talking about this with D. You might like if you're listening, you might remember D. She used to podcast years ago. I'm joking, but we were talking about that particular
She's too
scene,
busy
and I
with her
think,
family or whatever.
and I think in a
Irony.
very weird way, like killing Ellie would have showed her more grace than letting her go with David because he knew like this is one person who is probably gonna have to like just eat human, which is no one wants to do that. And B, this is a person that will likely be, for lack of better words, taken under David's wing in the way she doesn't want to be. So like killing her right now will probably do her much more of a favor than letting her go be with David. So yeah, I don't think Troy Baker's character like disliked her. He was just like, yeah, let's kill her,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Just for her own benefit.
yeah.
So I think that's something people should know. And then basically, again, they get a more ton of meat. horse is a lot of fucking meat.
Yeah.
That's something I've never eaten, but
No, I can't say that. No.
it's very taboo in this country. But
Yeah.
it's interesting when you phrase it like that. But yeah, that's a lot of more meat. But they're focused on possibly Ellie, who's a tiny like 13-year-old girl versus this big ass horse.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows me again, like the intent's not like the truly being hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're also just shitty hunters too, because like there's deer and stuff around, and yet
Right.
anyway, they're just shitty hunters. But so she launches off, knocks unconscious, and then Joel starts to hear them in, and this is, I guess, he gets that second wind and that adrenaline, and he takes them the fuck out, and he ends up torturing them to interrogate, and that's where like a lot of it's very unnecessary. He ends up like gutting that dude.
Yeah,
And then
like
he kills the other guy just because.
Like he puts the knife in the guy's like knee, and he was like, "I will rip your kneecap off if you don't tell me where she is." And then he does it anyway, which is I did, you know, I think I know a lot about the
He's
human body.
a good
Didn't know the
person.
kneecap could pop off like that, but hey,
Yeah, he's not a good person. Now, I know a kneecap can pop out. I know from personal experience. It's not pleasant. I couldn't imagine it popping out of my body in that manner.
yeah,
Much worse. But yeah, he just does it just because he's pissed off, right? Like they're bad people, but I'm just like there's a little bit. You just like slit the throat, right? Just make it quick. But anyway, so I'm just gonna fast forward to the scene where it is right out of the game, super well done. This cat and mouse between David and Ellie, but it's made even more sinister. Just because he's and I think this is the scariest moment in the whole show. It's scarier than any type of bloater or infected because he's just such a sinister person. And he's just walking around chasing Ellie with this machete. Like the scariest thing is not the infected, it's this human being. And what eventually happens is he overpowers her, and I'm assuming not great intentions. Ellie finally reaches over and just starts going at it. And because of the implication of what he was saying, he's like, love, things like that, basically alluding that she's going to be his child bride. And she just knocks him out. And that's the thing, is just, there's a lot of anger. And earlier in the episode, he mentions that he sees a propensity for violence in Ellie, which is kind of a theme throughout this show. And she just keeps going and going and going. She's traumatized, right? This is a very traumatic event for her. To the point when she exits, Joel finally gets her, and she immediately like, "Don't touch me, don't touch me. Who are you? Get off of me." And I think that is horrifying for him, just because he's like, "Well, what happened to you to make you?" And then he's like, "Baby girl, I got you." A lot of people were heartwarmed by the "I got you, baby girl," because it alludes back to episode 1 where he calls Sarah baby girl. I just feel like, remember, she's cargo, and we'll see next episode why this is not good. I think it's great, and partially that she gets a father figure, but Joel is not the father figure you want. He's like a very dangerous and violent person. So now he's not going to be making good decision making. It's just, I don't think it's good on a psychological level that he's forged this bond, and I don't think it's a good bond. It's a trauma bond.
Yeah, because
She's
here's the thing,
proxy daughter. At the end of the day, like, she's not Sarah, but he's filling this hole in his heart that he has refused to acknowledge. It would be different if he had, maybe talked about it over those years. This is not a healthy way to do it.
Yeah, because when he holds her, they make a point to like show you the perspective of like from Ellie's back, like with Joel's like arms like pointing out, and you see the broken watch. Like they make you want to see that as a callback to Sarah, so you can see that this bond is being created. But is being created in like the worst moment possible. I will say this. So to me, like it's heartwarming in the sense that the bond is being created, but much to your
Mhm.
point, we know what Joel will do to protect Ellie now, or the decisions he will make to protect Ellie now, and that isn't good. Like he because now to protect her, he will go into this very, very, very dark space where like previously he was just kind of like dormant and not that person anymore.
He's jumping to extremes, right?
Exactly,
So he's
exactly.
still this very violent person. And my thing is, like, in a perfect world, he needs a therapist.
Yeah,
Like, trauma bonding is not good at all. Like, it is not a healthy form of bonding. Like, at its core, it's kind of sweet, but it's not so sweet. It's not good for either of them.
yeah. Which QC has the like betterhelp.com up and running or something like no, but no, like you
Right,
said, it's
exactly.
but no, it's I mean, it was a fantastic way to close out the episode, but um I'm gonna say this: I didn't finish the game, but I like had to like jump ahead
You
to see like
watched,
how the game
yeah.
ended. Yeah, and a lot of people are going like in the spirit of bad decisions. A lot of people are going to be pissed off next week. Let's not even say anything about it, but let's just say that a lot of people are not going to like how things go.
No, but I will say that it looks like they're going to add some very interesting things. So I'm
Hmm.
excited for the new perspective. All I will say is if you have not seen the preview, that the voice actor of Ellie will be present.
Interesting.
I'm very excited for the new perspective. But yeah, like I think people are gonna get upset because it's like Pedro Pascal. But let's look at the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is also not a good person. It's very
Yeah.
ironic. There's like
Yeah.
two smugglers who bonded with children,
Yeah.
except for one's a little bit more deified, right?
Mhm.
But he's very good at playing father figure smugglers. It's just his niche. But anyway, he's I have to reiterate, he is not a good person. He was a smuggler.
Yeah.
And like even though he was doing, things to survive, there's sometimes things where it's like was that necessary? He has a lot of pent up anger that he has
Yeah.
never addressed.
Yeah. Because has hmm. Because I was going to ask, has Ellie seen that side of him yet? And I guess when he was like beating
Slightly
up the
when he
Fedra
went
showed,
after the
but
guard.
it still wasn't to like that degree though. I think if she would have saw that scene, oh no, actually, if she like if she were there and she were witnessing that scene, it probably would have gone worse because she probably would have jumped in too. Like she would have like
That's something
became
they're
that
both
person.
very they both have a very strong propensity. And I don't want to compare Ellie and Sarah, but Sarah I think made Joel a better person. I
Yeah.
don't think
Whereas
we can
Ellie
say the same
is,
thing for Ellie.
yeah,
Like they're a very toxic father-daughter duo.
yeah, like that's a like that's a nice contrast actually. Like you saw like the effect that Sarah had on Joel, but now it's like the polar opposite with Ellie and Joel. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ellie's not that good of a person either.
Yeah,
We'll get
but
into
I
it. We'll get
mean,
into it in time.
yeah, I was gonna say I have a little more grace for her because she's a
She's a
teenager and she
child.
doesn't have, yeah, she doesn't have the best examples right about now. So
But
yeah,
yeah, so I think people need to stop like thinking of like when you have your protagonist and people you're rooting for, they're not always a good person.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's what makes these like characters like so interesting. Like it would be a boring show if like Joel was like the just the knight in shining armor, and he was like the good guy, or
It would be so
like the
boring.
crusader. It would be so
We need
boring,
some
but
morally gray characters.
right.
But I don't ever want to hear people question these casting choices ever again.
No, no.
Bella Ramsey, I like no longer the British face is no longer an issue. Like
No,
this,
no.
I see Ellie when I see Bella Ramsey. I hear Ellie. Like Bella Ramsey is an incredible Ellie.
yeah,
I
I
can't
see
see
Ellie now.
anybody else. I
Yeah.
can't see anybody else as Ellie now. Like I don't like. I think Bella Ramsey has this like rough around the edges vibe,
hmm
which is perfect for Ellie.
hmm Yeah, like this episode was like,
Bella Ramsey's Emmy episode for me.
oh, seriously, because it was like so much to carry in this episode, and Bella Ramsey did like fantastic. Like every single emotion she had to emote like was like perfect, and like I was like I, I see it now. Like I don't even know who else was up for the role, but they aren't you, so I see it now.
Exactly. I just really can't imagine who else would be so good at this.
Yeah, I like just fantastic all around, and and yeah, Pedro was fantastic in that final scene too, because that was like I think that's like when you know like that the acting is good, because like when like people like were reacting, like people were feeling something in that moment. So I think yeah, just kudos all
And
around.
it's
Like this is
complicated. And that's a beautiful
yeah.
thing that they're able to portray these complicated things
mhm.
and without words, without that many words at all. That's talent.
Yeah, like yeah, I want to put a pin in it here and just say like up to this point, like I am so impressed by what they were able to accomplish by the with this show. Like so impressed, like across the board. Like every change that they've made like works perfectly for the TV show versus like the game. Like the
And
acting is great, the
they know
casting
how
has
to
been great.
adapt. Like they
Right.
know how to adapt. And I know this is like recency bias, but I can't think of a piece of media that adapts so well and that is so self-aware.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have an example, but it's also like very it's also a tough watch. But yeah, because the same things happen in that it's Underground Railroad, by the way. But the same thing
Um,
happens in that, where like a lot of like creative changes happen, but it's because like okay, we're crossing media now, so we're taking it from the page to the screen. So a lot of it has to change in order for it to make sense, and it makes sense.
I do want to say one thing that reminds me is people complaining about the show being so traumatic. So a zombie apocalypse happened. Like, what do you?
Like
Are our
respectfully,
hands being held
Abbott
too much?
Elementary,
Our
Abbott
hands
Elementary comes
have our
on every
hands being
Wednesday. Go
held too
watch that.
much? Right, here, go watch Abbott Elementary, right? Actually a very good show though. But
Yeah, no, seriously, very good show. But yeah,
excellent show. It's a drama. Um,
yeah,
but my thing is like trauma, this isn't like in a trauma porn way. I think people don't know how to process trauma. And maybe just because like I'm a
right.
former social worker, so I know how to differentiate.
hmm
I think it shows the beauty of human connection. Like this is to me, it shows humanity at its rawest. But
Right.
like I said, it's the media literacy. What was that? Turn it on. We need media literacy.
Because yeah, what I said like back in like our first recap, what a lot of these apocalypse or zombie shows miss, like in order for me to like care about these characters in this environment, like you have to show me like basically what's at stake and what they've lost, and also give them a reason to like keep moving forward. And The Last of Us has done all of those things. Like it's not like the bill, like I know, like because I was actually shocked that on I'm not even gonna give this much time, but I was shocked that someone said the Bill and Frank episode was filler. Yeah, Courtney,
I know. I saw. I was just like,
but
sometimes we should become violent against people.
we should bully people. But no, that's your opinion. But no, I'm saying like without that episode being episode 3, right? Episode 3 showing you the importance of human connection. The rest of this show, the episodes that follow, would not work. It wouldn't work.
Like it's about like I said, it's, and they said the whole thing comes back to love.
Exactly.
So, and I'm just like, not every show has to be uplifting.
No.
Sometimes you have to get to the raw things, you know what I mean? But I almost like did it in this essay I will on Twitter, but it's in my drafts to say this exact thing. I'm growing as a human being. Almost used that new character limit. And I said no.
Thank you. But I'm not reading all of that.
Right. I would have gotten blocked by so many people. But that's the point. You know what I mean? I think like TikTok, and I hate to sound like a boomer, has kind of poisoned our brains. Like not everything needs to be like bright. Sometimes like not, I don't know, watch what you want to. If you don't like feeling sad feelings, don't watch shows like this. And this isn't a show, it's like, I don't understand how you can watch it. It's not that. It's like I said, it's just seeing the beauty of human connection, even in times of peril. Because that's when you see real humanity.
Exactly.
To me. See, I still went off my soapbox, but still, I just want us to be more mindful about how we process media. Like, I know George Bush is a bad person, but like, I just didn't understand the impact would be this bad. Like, here's the thing. I got educated in the state of Alabama. If I can process, everybody else can.
Yeah, like, because I don't know, like
we both were educated in the state of Alabama.
If
we can get it.
And I'm from Demopolis, which is like the black belt, but no, like, but what I was gonna say is like, and like what you like. I'm not gonna beat you over the head, even though I should. But what I'm saying is like, it's so disappointing to see a show that's so rich with like themes and so layered be reduced down to like, well, it's not this. Oh, okay, well, go watch that.
I have a hot take. We haven't had a show like this rich and just intent in storytelling since before the writer's strike. I wouldn't say it's the only, but I would say like we really haven't gotten like television that's this well thought out since before the writer's strike. We've had others, but like it reminds me of the storytelling that we used to have.
Yeah, like kind of how we.
Could you imagine if these people watched Lost? Could you imagine?
I was gonna say like just thinking about like so one thing that I know people dislike is like when decision making is like binary. Like this person is good, bad. This person is good, evil. This person does this. I don't like this person. I do like this person. There's a lot to not like about Joel, but at the same time, like obviously you're still invested in him and
in his story.
And you actually want him to become a better person. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot to like write that character.
And in reality, sometimes people just don't become better.
They don't.
Even though they have redeeming qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for some reason people have a hard time processing that. And maybe that's why they're bad friends and partners in real life. Not to make this therapy hour.
Possibly so. Possibly so.
We're so profound on this.
Yeah, like
I'm not even in grad school. Maybe Ron's just rubbing up on me.
Yeah, I did just spend like 2.5 hours talking about like information processing, so maybe that's why this is like fresh in my mind. But yeah,
Yeah.
but no,
I was
maybe there
pre-med
does need,
psychiatry and then a social worker, so I will never not be like
maybe there is a study of like how comprehension affects like I guess the
empathy
ability to, yeah.
and not calling yourself an empath.
Oh my god, yeah.
I feel like we should strike down anyone that calls themselves that. Like Obama style.
Like drone strikes, like yeah. But
Just
like
bring
I'm
it
an
back.
empath. Wait 1 second.
Wait,
Let me.
you know who would be for that? I feel like Joe Biden would agree.
Joe Biden would definitely do that. Yeah.
This is what happens when D's not on here with us. See, D, you need
Yeah.
to abandon your family.
But yeah, because I
oh,
can
good
hear.
news. Do you want to? Okay, we've been talking about some traumatic things, but do you want happy news?
Yeah, go.
Mitch McConnell's in the hospital.
Oh my god, I knew you were gonna say
Anyway,
that. I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah,
I manifested it.
I
I'm
knew you
just
were gonna say
saying,
that.
like, if I know if like, you know how like Riley and Ellie were like, what do we do? I know what I would do.
Yeah.
I would go and find my enemies, and that includes Mitch McConnell. Like, I would have a very specific list.
Oh.
Like, I know who I'm biting.
So, in interest of not, being visited by the Alphabet Boys, we're gonna stop the episode here, and we're gonna
That's
say
probably how all of Atlanta got infected.
we're gonna say thanks for watching, thanks for listening. We'll be back to recap the finale. Let us know what you're thinking about the show so far. U.S. government officials, we're totally joking, but yeah. Until next time.
Praying for the hotel floor. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Thank you for your service.
I'm so sorry the hotel floor had to experience that, but until next time, peace.
It's worth it.